Ken Gotch is going to introduce our external auditors. He's also going to talk with Leggett Architects. We're going to have a brief presentation on the science project. So I think we're going to start with our auditors. So welcome.
Thank you. So just stepping into the presentation up here. I'd like to introduce John George, the partner, and his colleague Jessica West, the audit manager. And they prepared a brief presentation regarding this year's audit. As you know, it's a good board practice at the beginning of an audit cycle for the auditors to meet with the board, to talk about the audit plan, and to get input from the board about the year's coming audit. So with that, John?
Thanks, Ken. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. Like Ken said, my name is John George. I'm the partner on the engagement, Jessica West, manager on engagement. So it's just an opportunity for us to get in front of the board, walk through a little bit of our plan with the audit, and open up for questions and answer any questions you may have. Our items that we're going to cover, and we're going to cover them pretty quick because I know there's a lot of PowerPoints here. But scope of services, overall strategy, significant risks, estimates, timing of the audit, two-way communication. So these are just the components of what we deliver with our arrangement letter, what we deliver with our planning letter, covering areas of the audit. So scope of services. There's 4 components of the audit. There's the audit of the financial statements. We audit the report on supplementary information that's included within the audited statements. We also audit the schedule of federal awards, all the federal awards that the college receives, and we also perform an examination of the ICCD program. So those are the 4 main components of the services that we're providing. A key component to being an independent auditor and providing this report is obviously independence. So in that process, we consider our relationship, other services that are provided, and financial interest. There were no other services. If we had consulting services or any other services that may impair our independence, we obviously discussing those with you. We didn't have any, so we are in fact independent in this relationship. Overall audit strategy. The audit strategy covers a number of different facets, but overall understanding the organization, understanding the different financial reporting and transaction cycles that are included within the operations of the organization, assessing risk. So, an audit focuses on material areas of potential risk. So we're going to cover a couple of those areas as we get into a little bit of detail on the audit strategy, but we look at whether it's financial statement risk or account balance risk. So we're at both levels, what's included in financial statements and as well what the detailed account balances are. So we'll focus on both of those as part of the audit. Jessica covers some detail around the strategy.
Like John said, this is a risk-based approach. So we're identifying risk at the college, and so over each of these risks, we're going to perform different procedures. So we're going to perform some standard procedures where we're testing details, testing controls, or even doing analytics over these areas. So some of the areas that we see as having risk to the college are risk of management override of controls and risk of improper revenue recognition. These are 2 risks we see at every single audit we go out to. The other risks that are specific to the college are any debt covenants that need to be met throughout the year, payroll change management, bad debt reserves for student tuition and fees, and reporting of fixed assets. So again, we dive into these sections. We have a couple slides later on how we're going to be addressing these risks.
These are comparable to risks that we've looked at obviously in prior years. As Jessica said, very comparable to what we see with other community.
So for the risk management override of controls, how we address this risk is identifying select journal entries or other adjustments during the year for specific testing. Through this, we make sure that these journal entries are appropriate and properly reviewed through the college. We're going to review any accounting estimates, and we'll go through some of the significant estimates later on, and we're going to evaluate the business rationale for all of these estimates and any unusual transactions. For the risk of improper revenue recognition, over the major revenue streams, we're going to be testing controls because you have good controls at your college to determine whether that there was proper and can give us additional assurance that the revenue is properly recognized. We're going to perform substantive analytical procedures. So here, we're going to be looking at your tuition and how many credit hours you have and how many students you have to make sure that the revenue you're recognizing looks appropriate. We also confirm grant and property tax revenue and then do detailed testing on some of your auxiliary revenue streams.
So a combination of relying on controls, testing those controls, and then substantive procedures to verify those.
And here's just a list of your key revenue streams that we do test throughout our field work. Our significant estimates, you'll probably hear us at the end of the audit talk about how we tested each of these items and that they're appropriate. So they're the receivables and allowances, self-insurance accrual, your other post-employment benefits, and defined pension plan. To test these, we first obtain an understanding from management and how we develop their estimates. We test management's assumptions, looking at historical data. So, for example, on your allowance for doubtful accounts, we make sure there's no write-offs greater than last year's allowance if there's not a reason for that. We also use specialists. So we have actuaries internally at RSM that we rely on to look at the different assumptions for your OPEB and your self-insurance accrual.
So timing of the audit, we start with preliminary field work, which we've completed. That was May 25th to June 2nd. That's where we do a lot of the systems understanding, reviewing board minutes, we develop our audit strategy, and we can see if there's any operational changes that we want to focus on. Student financial aid work was done recently, June 21st to June 23rd. And then we do our final field work that commences the week of August 7th, where we perform most of that substantive testing. We continue to test some controls as well as doing our substantive testing that goes around transaction cycles and analytical procedures as well. We have our board meeting in September, and we issue the final report that we'll be issuing around the end of September. Two-way communication is a critical part of the audit process. It starts out with the client all the way through the engagement, preliminary field work, and final field work. So effective two-way communication is a key part of the audit. Obviously, making sure that the board feels comfortable communicating with us. Our responsibility is to communicate with the board. Making sure that we're communicating issues with the board as they arise, if there are any that rise to that level, but as well as any issues that the board has that need to be notified of. Audit inquiries. Part of the audit process is having inquiries with key members of management and the board, so that's part of the standard process we've had in the past, and we'll continue to do that. So we'll reach out to the president of the board and certain key members of management to have our audit inquiries and discuss areas of concern and areas of impact to the audit process itself. If there's any areas of whether that's certain departments, certain transaction cycles, anything that we could impact through the audit process, there's any concerns we can look at into the audit process. And that's it. Any questions for us?
Is there any danger relative to the impact of our bond status, given what's going on at the state level?
The impact of the state from a financial statement perspective would be what we recognize as far as revenue. And obviously having appropriation, budget tests, impact that, which will then impact your potential bond rates. Certain operating factors, their operating measures are in place. So definitely, it's a concern across all units of government throughout the state.
I also think an important thing is clean audit opinions and timely completions of the audits are also things that the rating agencies will be looking at as well.
Yeah, the rating agencies look at policies and procedures within the organization, timeliness of internal financial information as well as external information. So all that plays into the picture that they get. Financial performance is a key component.
Unfortunately, we enjoy a very nice bond rating at this particular point. We intend to keep it that way.
Yes.
I do have a question. Every year the auditors come up with recommendations for improvement in certain areas. Do you look at those then the next year to say, hey, how did we do on them and we're going in the right direction?
Yeah, this part of the process is to look at we start with last year's recommendations and implementation of those in action. Those could be either management suggestions or they could be internal control deficiencies. Internal control deficiencies are more significant than management suggestions. We definitely want to make sure that there's action followed up to rectify those. Those could, if they're not followed up, be elevated, so we have the lowest level of control efficiency, rise to a significant efficiency or material weakness. So we have to, part of the audit standard, we have to ensure that we're reviewing those recommendations as
This next question really has nothing to do with the college or the county. It's more of an auditor's kind of question. I read recently a school down in southern Illinois had a $700,000 mishap where an employee over a 5-year period of time helped themselves. That's something you catch in an audit, isn't it?
You hope so, but an audit doesn't test 100% of the financial transactions. We're focused on material transactions like this, material activity, and we audit on a test basis. So if it's a key transaction cycle, we hope we will catch that because it's something we focus on understanding the controls around that. And reporting of control efficiency is something that isn't the way it should. So unfortunately, an audit isn't a guarantee, but if done effectively, it should focus on material areas that make sure the financial statements are material.
Thank you.